What's she doing?
The Crusader was an interesting episode, and I think the thing that stands out to me most is what fantastic casting it was. Catherine Morris, who played Najara, I thought was just absolutely perfect for the role. And she was a do-gooder, and she was obsequious, and she was just perfect for it. And you got quite squirmy as you saw Gabrielle getting more and more drawn towards that character. One of R.J. Stewart's stories, and he had a wonderful knack for setting up characters counter to Xena, and that's a perfect example of it.
And when I first pitched the episode of Crusader to Rob, he said that he had wanted to do a Joan of Arc thing his entire life, you know, so that he totally got it immediately, and we went from there. And Catherine Morris did a terrific job.
Lovely.
I'm so sorry.
Najara is definitely based on Joan of Arc, and something that I think all of us were intrigued by, the idea that if Joan of Arc were alive today, she'd be put in a mental hospital. You know, you say you hear voices and you're getting a dosage of lithium and being sent off to shuffle the hallways. But at the time, historically, she was a great military leader, and the question is was Joan of Arc crazy or not? Is Najara crazy or not?
Please forgive us. How do you know all that? The Jinn told me.
The Jinn?
Yes, they're my guides through life.
Are they spirits?
They're the Jinn.
So, but I think part of what's interesting about the character is that you don't exactly know whether she's crazy or not. And then the question is if she's crazy, is that a problem? Or is it only a problem because of the actions that she's directed to do? You know, I mean, you could say Xena was crazy when she was killing millions of people. You could also say Xena's a little crazy now. I mean, somebody who rides around who's obsessed with helping other people, sure, it's noble, but it doesn't mean, you know, geez, get a job, settle down, build a house, have a mortgage. I mean, you know, there are other things.
Would you like to join us on our mission?
What's your mission?
To fight evil wherever we find it.
Can you be a little more specific?
The reason that Najara could have an effect on Gabrielle, the reason that she had an ear for Najara's spiel, her preaching, was because that whole season's about her questioning her role.
I don't know if I'm on the right path in my life. You fight for good. What other path is there?
With Xena, yes, they had done some wonderful good, and so certainly she knows that. But you know, she's always questioned Xena's commitment to good. You know, she's always in the sense of, you know, she was always afraid of that demon inside of Xena that might pop up.
You've suffered much, Gabrielle, but you've retained your good heart.
I think Gabrielle was vulnerable to Najara's logic because we're meeting her just at the time that she is beginning to question whether or not Xena's way is her way.
Yes, I see. She's on a different path. Well, perhaps you need to commit totally to your life with Xena. You two do a lot of good.
We do.
Just as she's beginning to question what she's doing with her life, somebody steps in and offers her an alternative and seems to have a more, you know, Gabrielle is, I think, a more spiritual character, or at least she's more open about her spirituality than Xena is. And then here she meets somebody who's seems to have integrated the spirituality and a commitment to action and justice. And that's exactly what Gabrielle's looking for.
Its sole purpose would be to relieve suffering. Oh, there's so much good to be done and so little time to do it.
Here you had a character that was possibly tempting Gabrielle away from Xena, and she knew it, and she knew that if Gabrielle stays with her, she would possibly die because of the premonition of the crucifixion. So you had all of that stuff going on between Xena and Gabrielle, too, which I thought was really, really wonderfully played out by everybody.
Najara certainly has a point that Xena is bad for Gabrielle. I mean, I think that certainly in traveling with Xena, Gabrielle has been in harm's way, you know, in endless number of situations, and if she weren't with her, that wouldn't have happened. And, you know, and Xena knows from her vision that she and Gabrielle are headed to a really bad place.
She'll die if she stays with me. You said it would take something drastic to change our destiny. Maybe this is it.
If she could walk away and leave Gabrielle, then conceivably that would never happen. Now, you know, one of the questions that is huge in Greek literature and plays and everything since then is, you know, what is fate, and is fate ever avoidable? Is it character? Is it truly destiny? Is it, you know, could Xena ever really leave Gabrielle? I don't think so. Would Gabrielle ever let herself be left? Probably not. So while Xena spends a lot of this season trying to find ways to avoid the vision that she's seen, the question lingers, is it ever really avoidable?
There's a shot in the episode which I really like. It's sort of a turning point for Gabrielle, where Najara comes in and saves her by catching an arrow, which is kind of normally Xena's domain, what Xena would do, and it's like, oh, someone else has stepped into Xena's role. We've done a lot of shots like that in the past, and but this time it worked particularly well, and it was kind of the arrow's point of view tracking in towards Gabrielle. And I think from memory, the way we used to do those was put the art department would mock up a false arrow that was probably 5 times larger than real life, so it had an arrowhead about yay big, and that was put in front of Steadicam, fixed, and then Steadicam was run at a slow camera speed, so it raced in towards whoever you were going for. And I think sometimes we did the shots backwards so that you could start with the arrow right up against them and then come backwards really fast. And of course, when you run it back the correct way, you've got this impression point of view of an arrow going, well, it's not a point of view, the arrow is actually there in frame, and you're going whoosh straight in towards the person. And then with some clever sleight of hand, I think the actor's already holding the arrow in their hand, and they just reach up and go grab like that. With clever cutting, it looks to the eye as if the arrow's been plucked out of the air.
But I can't do that unless you turn to the light. And there's no reason why you can't. We'll be glad to initiate you into the way. Just let the light in, and the darkness will be gone.
Najara captures people. She gives them a chance to turn to the light, and then if they don't, you know, within a very reasonable 3-day waiting period, it's longer than it takes to get a handgun. So, you know, then they're toast. And it's, you know, she makes the point, how is this any different than what Xena does? I do think there's a difference in that Xena tries to deal with people without killing them. I mean, killing them is definitely a last solution.
Does the violence ever bother you? I don't think I could get used to that. Gabrielle, you need to make a full commitment to the light. It will give you faith that what you're doing is right.
The idea of zealous people wanting to go a little too far in the cause of good is very relevant to today. I mean, certainly, I think we're dealing with the same problems right today.
In order for good to triumph, we must eradicate evil. I always give evildoers a chance to turn to the light, but if they refuse or I sense their conversion isn't sincere, I send them to look onto the light.
The big difference between Najara's worldview and Xena's worldview is Xena's trying to minimize the pain that people go through. So when she sees vulnerable or weak people in danger, she comes to their aid because they can't protect themselves. And by doing that, she allows them to live without pain, okay, without suffering. It's a kind of a simple code. It's really all about, once again, correcting her past, where she did inflict so much pain, where she did inflict so much suffering. Najara has a much more idealistic, and I'm using the expression idealistic in the philosophic sense, you know, that there's an ideal that she's trying to fulfill. So some of the people, some of the evil people who she is going to kill in 3 days if they don't accept the light, you know, I think that's real questionable how evil they are. They might at times be ready to inflict violence, but Xena would jump in and drive them away, and they would run off, and they'd be a little more afraid next time they did it.
If you think I'm gonna pay lip service to your mumbo jumbo just so you can kill me anyway when you decide I'm not being sincere, you're dead wrong.
See, Xena's not interested in converting anybody to her worldview. She's just trying to reduce the level of suffering in the world. Whereas Najara, yeah, she does have an ideal. She is an idealist in the sense she would like a perfect world where no one suffers. But she's willing to inflict all kinds of suffering to accomplish that. So
it's my way or the highway.
yeah. So I think Xena is much more tolerant.
Xena!
Najara, she's just really tough. I don't have a problem with that at all. She met, I mean, that's the thing about doing a superhero is always, you know, when does kryptonite come into it? You know, when do you put them in vulnerable situations? You don't do it every week by any means. But to do it with a really, really tough opponent. The more challenges you present to a character, the more heroic the character is when they overcome it. I mean, that's one of my favorite scenes in the series, which you guys did great. It was when afterwards she takes out the tooth.
I hate that.
You know, I had the idea, I pitched it to Rob, and then I went off to write the story, and I think the first scene I had in my mind was Lucy with the tooth, you know, because I just knew she would pull it off.
You know what? She's a tough girl, but she's got a weakness. It's the same one I've got.
Given that Xena can hold her own against, you know, even Ares, the god of war, and then there's this one crazy little zealot who somehow is able to hold her own against her, in fact, beat the crap out of her, knock a tooth out of her head. I think it's just a testament to the power of faith. Don't mess with God.
No. That would hurt her. And I don't ever want to do that. That's your job.
I think that, you know, bores a hole right into Xena's heart as she's dealing with the visions of Gabrielle's crucifixion, knowing that she is there, knowing that she is a part of it. And I mean, I think she wonders if by taking Gabrielle away from this woman, is she really doing the right thing? I mean, certainly what Najara was doing, killing people who wouldn't share her belief system, isn't something that Gabrielle believed in, isn't something that Xena believes in, but Gabrielle doesn't end up dead that way. And she's basically, you know, sentencing her to certain torture. I think it goes right to the heart of what Xena's worried about.
Episodes that we did on Xena, there are the ones that I love and the audience loves, and then there's the ones that I'm not so sure of but the audience loves, and there's ones that I love that the audience don't love. I think Crusaders falls into that thing, because I've never heard a lot of great feedback from it, but I really liked that episode. I think I really liked the way it played out and what it said about our characters.